Without a doubt, mental health is actually the main heartbeat of everything in our daily lives. And today, we unpack all that you need to know with regards to mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, The Silent Writer, and this is Open Discussions, a platform brought to you courtesy of Alliance Francaise Dimbabane. You can find us on our social media platforms. On Instagram, it's Alliance Francaise underscore Dimbabane. Our Facebook page is Alliance Francaise. Today, our focus is on mental health, and to help give us a clear perspective on what exactly is mental health, we have an amazing panel made by Lombuso Mthethwa, a counseling psychologist and founder of Mums Club Eswatini. Alongside herself, there is Dumsani Njobo Mamba, a psychiatric nurse and mental health advocate, together with Nondome Makukula, a psychologist, and to complete our panel, we have Nonzigelelo Mazibugo, a mental health survivor. Beautiful people, welcome to the very first edition of Open Discussions. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, before we go into deep, Dumsani, can you help give us a clear perspective, rather, of what exactly are we talking about when we talk about mental health? And why is it important to learn about mental health?
Well, just to kickstart it all, I would first appreciate the opportunity and thank you for the amazing introduction. And it's so humbling to have such wonderful people around. Well, mental health, basically not a Google definition, definitely. Mental health is the state of well-being in which an individual realizes their full potential and is able to live with social stressors and life stressors in terms of being able to undertake all their living responsibilities, expectations, and upholding societal norms. And in my general mini description of mental health, I usually say a person's mental health is made out of eight different parts. There's the physical part, there's the emotional part, there's the cognitive, there's the psychosocial, and also the spiritual. So with all those five together, they have to work in a harmonious relationship where there is a balance between all five different parts which form an individual, and then we can say a person is mentally healthy. Then that person is mentally well. And in the absence of the harmonious working relationship between the five, then we say there is a mental illness where then there is a problem which needs to be corrected, and hence the use of the word mental health disorders, because there is no order when there is no harmonious working relationship.
When there's no harmonious working relationship. So why is it so important to learn about mental health? Why is it a very, very fundamental and important topic to address?
Well, the first part would be, it's basically because we are having this discussion. That's number one. It is very important. And the second one is mental health is the heartbeat of everything. When we're talking about an individual, like I said, there are these five different parts, which when you look at them, you then realize that every individual, despite what you believe in or your personality, we all have these five different parts. And the five different parts basically say, this is who you are. And if you have all those, then you are having a sense of focus, an anchor where everything is revolving around. Because we're speaking spirituality, it revolves from your mental well-being. We speak emotions, it emanates from your mental well-being. The way you think, which is the cognitive, the psychosocial, how we interact with the environment and the people around us, and also the physical, which is the basic body we have, the physical self. So mental health is actually the base of everything. If they say there is anything which is the basis of life, for me, in as much as I am going to be biased, it is mental health.
It is mental health. Now, I'd want to bring you in this one, Nondome, our psychologist. What are the different types of mental health that are out there? Because he speaks about the five fundamental aspects that make up mental health, or rather that make an individual. But can you just give us a brief breakdown of the kinds of mental health that are out there?
Okay, thank you so much. Well, mental health is quite broad. Like he mentioned, the five fundamentals in it. I think there is also the difference in the types of mental health. But for you to understand them, of course, you need to define them in separate ways. Yeah. So you need to define them distinctly. The first one could be poor mental health. Poor mental health is when one has a problem or is not able to understand how they feel. They're not able to make sense of their thoughts. They don't even know how to interact or connect to the environment, and they don't even know how to make means of life. They need some help, or they need to be made to understand that there is now a problem there. They don't even know how to cope with the environment in terms of relating to their situations currently, to say what are they experiencing right now, and they can't even, a lot of things with them just doesn't make sense. And now there is good mental health, which is also a type of mental health. Good mental health is about living well. It's not to say you are 100% okay. It's not to say you are happy, but it's about understanding how you feel, being able to express your feelings, whether it's good or bad, knowing how to interact to other people, knowing how to react when people talk to you, or knowing how to control your feelings, which makes sense to everyone, to say we have a person in the house that is okay. Yeah. And also to add, there is also mental illness, which Dumsani touched on. Mental illness is now when you have a certain disorder that you have been diagnosed with. There are a lot. We have depression, we have anxiety, we have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. We have a lot. I mean, yes,
and I'm already getting schooled out here. I'm already getting schooled all the scientific terms that I'm hearing, but fortunately, you are going to be staying with us and you will help unbreak all those scientific terms for us. But you spoke of stress, you spoke of being happy and the different symptoms, or rather the outstanding signs of certain mental illnesses. But before we go into deep, I just need to bring you in, Nontsikelelo. You have endured some sort of mental illness, and can you help put us in your shoes? What exactly was the mental health issue that you went through, and how can you tell that it was this phenomenal one?
Well, mine is long.
Yeah.
I think I only got diagnosed in 2017. But I had suffered since I was a teenager, basically. I remember that my first suicide attempt was when I was 16. I had been limping up until I was like, you know what, I'd be better off dead, because I honestly believed that I would find peace. It's I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, because you don't want it to be so permanent, but you just want peace. But death is so permanent. Yes, so there are times where you wish you can just be in a coma until it passes. Like, I would find myself wishing for that. Like, if I was in a coma for a month or 2 months or 3 months, maybe maybe I'd have peace of mind. Like, I want to wake up eventually, but I want to wake up better. I just don't know how to get better, though. So I would suffer with it and I would walk with it. There were times where I would struggle with getting out of bed. That's where it would start. So you struggle with getting out of bed. You are very comfortable in a very dark room where there are no people, there's no disturbance. So you don't want to open the curtains because you don't want to let any light in. You don't want to open the windows because you'll make it up in your head that if I haven't opened the curtains, then it doesn't make sense to open the windows. Yeah, so you would stay in bed. You can't even eat on some days. It's a horrible space to be in. You just have a feeling of dread. It's a feeling of...
So what exactly, can we have that name to put a tag on it? What was that feeling?
I can only describe it as feeling like you are drowning.
Feeling like you're drowning?
Yes, you are drowning continuously, perpetually, and you are in the middle of the ocean, or you are in the middle of the deep end of the pool, and our conic figure on the other side. You can't reach the edges. You are stuck here, and you are trying to stay afloat, and you have all of these expectations that have been heaped upon you. Like, you are supposed to be fully functional. You have a job. You are beautiful. You have a life. You have parents. What do you have to be sad about? So you keep on feeling like, oh, okay, I have nothing to be sad about. Oh, okay, there's nothing wrong. Oh, I shouldn't be. It means I am ungrateful if I am suffering. So you have to put on that face, but internally, it's
deteriorate. That word, that word which means destroying inside, right? So now going through all these blows in life, fortunately we have you here today. what exactly gave you the courage to speak out and to step out there when some days you don't have the courage to wake up?
I remember that I started therapy in 2015.
All right.
I started therapy in 2015, and I got a break in between, and then I went back again in 2016. I'm still in therapy. So a lot of people think that with therapy you'll just be, and then now you're fine and you won't suffer. But what therapy does is it gives you the coping tools. How do you cope? How do you manage when you feel like the whole world is against you? You feel like everybody hates you. You feel like you would just rather die. So how do you go on despite all of that? How do you pull yourself out when you feel like your mind is trying to swallow you? How do you talk yourself down to say, no, don't, it's not as bad as it seems. Let's just suffer through it. So with therapy, I could have given up because I think I had a few attacks since.
All right.
But nothing happened, thankfully. But I know that the last attack was in 2019, November. I was still in therapy. I'm still in therapy. But the difference with it is that the dark days are shorter. They are not as dark. The difference
When
with
you
it...
undergo therapy.
Yeah, when you undergo therapy. When you undergo therapy, you now have an ability to have the different perspectives. It's not just that your brain is wired to be negative. You are now able to talk your brain to say, it's not like that. But obviously you need medication sometimes. I was on medication for a point in time for 3 months. I was on medication for 3 months, and I believe that it really, really did help me because after the attack in 2019 and then subsequently taking medication, it hasn't been as bad as it used to be.
As it was
before when it started.
Now,
Okay. First of all, when we are talking mental health, at the center, at the basis of it all is the human mind and how the human mind functions. And one thing that we need to understand is that your human mind was built to sort of like be the central system of your whole body. It tells you when to sleep, how to feel, what to do when you are hungry, all of those things. So when your mind is not in a healthy state, that is when it starts giving you signs that you are tired, you get headaches, you get your energy levels go down and all of those things. You are heartbroken. You literally feel like your insides are actually turning and all of those things. That is your mind telling you that there's something not okay with you and you should attend to it. So with mental health issues, it is exactly the same thing. When you feel as though you are not functioning in the way that you used to function before, that means that there's something not okay with your mental state. Like Dumsani said earlier, that it is a cohesive thing. You have your physical, your emotional, and all of those. But in the center of that, you have your mind, which helps all of these things to function the way they are supposed to function. Now, once you've identified that there's something not okay with me, that I am not functioning the way I am supposed to be functioning, and my mental state is not in the healthy sense, and then you see a therapist. How we classify disorders is we have what we call our own Bible, which is the DSM-5. And what that does...
Can you say that again?
The DSM-5.
The DSM-5.
Yes.
That's the Bible.
That's our psychology Bible. That's our Bible.
So what's in the Bible?
Okay, so what we do with that is that it helps us classify these disorders into about 7 or 8 categories. They change every day. I'm sure they've changed this morning. But yeah, so we have mood disorders, whereby we find your depressions, your bipolars, and all of the like. You have personality disorders, where you find your borderline personality disorders. Then you've got your mental disorders, where you find schizophrenia. There's quite a lot, and we can take the whole show me trying to go through those categories.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of categories that we break down according to what your presenting factor is. So like Nonzigelo said, she felt like she wanted to be in a dark room.
Yeah.
So that messes with her mood. She wanted to be sad all the time. She felt as though she was stuck. So that's a mood disorder. And then once we've identified that this is more of a mood disorder, we go into the presenting symptoms. She wants to be alone. She's sad. So that's more of a depression type of a disorder. And within that depression as well, there's a lot of ways that we classify it. There's major depressive disorder. There's onset depression. There's chronic and all of that. And what helps us classify that are the symptoms, which is why it's very, very important, like Dumsani said earlier, that we try to run away from Dr. Google. Because Dr. Google doesn't have the expertise that we took years training to get. So whenever a client comes and they start telling us about what they are going through, we are then able to identify, okay, this is the category that you fall under, hence this is the treatment that you will need for that specific disorder that you seem to be presenting with.
Now, before we move any further, I just want to interject on when you state that we should run away from Dr. Google. In my head, when I type something on Google, I'm thinking that's uploaded by Lombuso. Isn't that the case? Because in my right thinking, I cannot upload anything with regards to psychology, mental health. So someone has to have some knowledge about that. Isn't the information uploaded by an inside person?
Okay, so that I don't get sued by Google.
Yeah. I'm not trying to do that in any case. I'm not trying to.
So what I am saying to that is that people present different disorders differently. They manifest differently within different people.
All right.
So when you type in depression onto Google, it will list generic symptoms, which I can feel like I fit into. Dumsani can feel like he fits into. Nonzigelo feels like she can fit into.
So they're generic.
Whereas they're just general. You understand?
Yeah.
And the thing about websites like that, there are different ones that are certified, whereby information is authentic, and then there are those whereby anyone can manipulate the information. Do you understand? So that's the biggest challenge. So as a normal person, a general person, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between certified information and information that was just loaded by someone who's very good with technology. Do you understand?
So the advice is basically to have a checkup with a professional. Exactly. And today we have the professionals. Today we have the professionals joining us for this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, you are still tuned into Open Discussions, a platform designed to address socio-economic issues and everything in between, courtesy of Alliance Française Timbabane. You can share your input rather on the comment section. Our socials are on Instagram. It's Alliance Française _Timbabane, and our Facebook page is Alliance Française Timbabane. Now, Nondome, can I have you join us, or rather share your insight on this one? What exactly are the factors that affect mental health? What are that which you can say triggers mental health? What exactly are the factors affecting mental health issues, or rather your mental health, your state of mental health?
I thank you. There are a lot of factors that affect mental health. It starts from our childhood, the upbringing. It counts the most. If you are surrounded by a family that supports you, a family that brings love to you, you are more likely not to suffer mental illness later in life. But for those who grow up in dysfunctional families, if I may put it like that, or families that are not providing social support, families that are not there, but they're just there physically to say, I have a mother in the house, but she doesn't have time for me. She doesn't even know what I do in my everyday activities. Yeah. That can, later in life, it can trigger some mental illnesses, like say maybe I become antisocial. later in life because I don't know how to interact. I don't know what love feels like. I don't even know how to talk to people. I don't know how to accommodate other people. So it counts the most how you are brought up, especially by family. Family counts. Another factor could be the loss of a loved one or bereavement. We are different, we cope differently. Some people can seem to be okay when they lose someone, whereas we know that it's generally not something you would expect from someone. If you lose a loved one, it's obvious that kuba nesikhathi where you need a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes you even need your family, you need your friends, and some people prefer staying alone just to be okay. Also, we have isolation. Isolation is another factor where we now feel like it's okay to be alone, and we ignore the fine line between the normal being alone and now when you want to be alone as a coping strategy. Like she said that she would sometimes feel like I need to be alone in a dark room. We know it's not normal. During the day, everyone is out there, they are socializing, they are doing their chores, and you just feel like, can I be in my own room? I mean, why don't you just go out and see people? I mean, you need to breathe out there. Yeah, you need to breathe. You need to share your thoughts with other people. You need to talk, voice out how you feel with other people. And also we have physical health. It is one factor that also contributes to mental health, and the other way around. Even mental health contributes to our physical health. People who eat well, by eating well, I mean having a good meal, a balanced one. Yeah. Yes. So if you eat well, you tend to be a healthy person, which physically comes with a bonus for you to say you have all the body needs. Yeah. And also people who have enough sleep, they tend to be happy people. They tend to see life, the positive side of it. And also those who exercise regularly. Those people, I mean, they do have this tendency of being happy. They don't stress most of the time because stress comes with muscle tension. So if you exercise, most of the time your body is free. You are free to do a lot of things. You are free to move around. It's normal to just go anywhere you want. But if you are just sitting there in the house, you are thinking
you definitely have to have those muscles stretched.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
And those are really insightful tips. We definitely have to put them into practice, myself included. I think I'll just be the first one to put everything that I'm getting today into practice. Now, Tumsani, you have done a lot of advocacy and you have very well advocated for mental health. Can you tell us a bit about the victories and the challenges that you have faced in the endeavor of advocating for mental health?
Well, I would say it's been a long ride, but a very short one, yet still, because, you know, it's been long if you're looking at how long it has taken, but it's been very short looking at the successes you have made, because the turnout towards that will then inform how much you have invested towards. First, I would start with what I would say have been the challenges. Well, the biggest challenge we have, and we still had back then, has been the issue of lack of information. People are not that much aware of what mental health is, because there is a lot of misconceptions around mental health. The moment you say mental, people think of insanity. And with insanity comes craziness, comes being a stubborn person, comes being an idiot, comes being a spoiled brat, that, hey, this one is spoiled, you want things done your way, oh, this one it's got so much pride, you are isolating yourself. I'll just indicate one which speaks to what Nzili was talking about, that she wanted to be in a dark room. There is a term I heard actually which speaks to that. They call it vampire tendencies.
I see.
Wow.
It sounds so cool if you ask me. But don't try that at home. It sounds cool, but don't try that at home.
And you know, those are some of the challenges when people are going through things and they really don't know what they are going through because of lack of information. And with the lack of information, there comes the biggest problem we have with mental health, stigma. And stigma comes with a very small baby on the side, discrimination. You know, the moment there will be stigma, someone will be discriminated because you are pointed at as something. You know, with people who are going through mental health challenges, we usually not treat them as people having a health condition. It's like, you are now depression, you know, you are bipolar, you are schizophrenia, you are social disorder, personality disorder, eating disorder. Whereas the person is not that. They are having the condition, and hence it's called a disorder. It can be corrected back to order, and then we can have the person being their fully self. So the bigger challenge has always been the issue of stigma and discrimination, which has mostly been fueled by the lack of information. And the worst part is, to a certain degree, we also have been having challenges with the accessibility in mental health services. We have clinical services everywhere, like physical health has always been. You know, like I mentioned earlier on, Sia, that for me, mental health is around the 5 different pillars. We have paid so much attention to physical health, forgetting emotional health, forgetting cognitive, forgetting psychosocial. And with spiritual, we have only focused on what spirituality has to get from us, other than what spirituality has to give back to us.
So our focus has been shifted from all the other pillars.
Exactly,
now,
focusing on just one.
In all the advocacy and all the works that you have done, what are the challenges that you have faced? You've mentioned the lack of education, the lack of awareness about mental health, because people, once you mention mental, they think of all the other misconceptions. Yeah. So is that one of the challenges that you have faced?
Actually, it's an all-around challenge across all the difference, because for myself personally, and I want to believe with my colleagues as well, with the information, with the knowledge, you are able to then make someone understand that cognitively you need to rest because your brain is tired. If you don't rest, you'll then have cognitive fatigue, like brain fatigue. You're going to have emotional breakdowns because you are not taking care of your emotions, you don't know how. You're going to have isolation problems, you're going to have social disorders because you don't know how to interact with people due to lack of information. So we have really been focusing mostly on education, sharing information, providing knowledge, and providing the platforms for services and assistance. Because with education and awareness, one thing you have to know for sure, you are provoking people's thoughts. You are provoking people's knowledge pool. If you're coming in and teaching me something, be ready to give me answers with the questions I'm going to have. Be ready to give me interventions with the problems I'm going to discover I have. Because the moment I tell someone that, oh, here are the signs and symptoms of depression, I should be ready to say, if these are the problems that you are presenting with, there has to be a solution. And in as much as I might not be Harry Potter to have a magic wand like Wingardium Leviosa, a solution comes, I have to provide a platform that will assist you to get the solutions. But with that being said, we have done so much work. With the successes that we have, one can like tap their own shoulder and say, you have done so well. We've got lots of institutions that are now in place. We've got lots of people comfortable speaking about mental health. I'll point not very far. Here is Nansigele.
We see you. We see you.
With stigma and discrimination in place, she's comfortable to come in and say, I had been going through this and I am still undergoing therapy. That's a success, and it's a very big one if you have someone who's going to come back and invest back into the problem we're still trying to solve. Because having Nansigelelo here, we are really having a head-on fight with stigma and discrimination. That beautiful as you might be, you still go through it and you're comfortable saying, if you see me in town slaying like she is, enough going through things, it really doesn't matter. So those are the successes I'll point out, you know, and the availability of the services now. We've got Bolombuso here. We have established institutions from a personal drive. We are like, I'm one of those. I also established Eswatini Mental Wellness. It's an NGO on mental health. She's got Mom's Club Eswatini. All of these institutions coming from personal effort. to provide services for Emaswati and even beyond, to say, with what we are talking about, this is where you can find assistance. And the government has stepped up a bit as well. We should recognize that, because when you go to clinics, you also now find a small corner where they'll be like, there's a psych unit. Which goes a long way.
That's a very important point that you're touching, and I'd love us to come back to it when we are covering where the help centers are and where the support groups are. But you can verily agree with me that mental health is one of the topics that we have swept under the carpet for far too long. But fortunately enough, we have Alliance Francaise Dimbabane stretching out a platform for us to have this open discussion, which is also open to the public to share their comments on their inputs on the comment section rather. Now, as we wrap up and as we cover the misconceptions around mental health, I just want to bring you in once again, Nondome, about the factors that have affected mental health. Has the evolution of time in any way perpetrated the statistics of mental health?
Yes, actually, there is still a movement like Dumsana is doing now, and Sislomboso. Their initiatives are very much good. And back in the days, I must say that mental health illnesses were not treated, or they were not given much attention like we are giving them today. So back in the days, they used to have certain houses or asylums where people were just put there, and because of the different beliefs people had, they assumed people were bewitched and people were possessed with demons. So those were where people were basing their thoughts on mental illnesses back in the days. But today I'm glad and happy to say that there has been a shift in societal beliefs and attitudes toward mental illness due to the knowledge and the sensitization that is happening nowadays. Also that the help is now taken to communities to raise awareness that it's still okay to be challenged mentally, because you are also a human just like everyone. So today I'm glad to say the initiatives are there.
The initiatives are there, and this is definitely one of them. This is definitely one of those initiatives, open discussions it is. Lombuso, would you say the evolution of time has perpetrated the rise of mental health?
Yes, I definitely would say that in terms of awareness as well. With technology, we have more access to information now, even from what we see on social media, but even the movies that we watch now. We've got movies such as The Beautiful Mind, which speaks to...
Let us not mention the names.
So we've got movies that now talk that speak to certain disorders that brings an awareness, where you find people asking you that I was watching such and such a movie and I saw a child. Would that be autism? Would that be ADHD? Would this be that and that? And so with everything that we are now exposed to due to technology and everything, it is now bringing in an awareness, and people are now getting curious because they are now identifying certain things in those settings that makes them wonder, is this actually a mental illness or is this normal?
Is this normal? Yeah. So, Nonsekelelo, I need you to share us and put us in your shoes. Was there any stigmas that you faced during your course of attending therapy sessions or battling mental health issues?
I can say that there were, in the sense that a lot of people simply did not understand what I was going through. Some people may have labeled me as being moody, because there were days where I'm hyper, I'm here. And then even during the same day, I'm now here, and I don't want to talk to anybody, and I don't want to deal with anybody. But I have been so fortunate that I've been surrounded by so much love. I have such a strong support system, and it's only because I allow them in. I allow them in, therefore, they may not know what is going on. They may feel helpless on how to help me, but they know that because I am suffering, they need to be there for me.
So for someone who's going through a mental health issue, how do they fight the stigmas that you went through? How were you able to combat the stigma that you were facing?
If you embrace it as a part of who you are, you embrace it as, I'm trying to change it. I know that this is not who I am. I'm not an antisocial person. I'm not a person who shuts people out. You allow yourself to be vulnerable. You allow yourself to feel what you are feeling at the time, knowing that it will pass. Then other people will also come to you and they will support you because you allow them in. A lot of the time we continue to suffer because we try to put on a brave face, and there's a saying that we have, your enemies must not see you suffer, because it makes them happy. Guys, it's okay to suffer.
Okay to suffer.
We all suffer. It's okay to suffer, because I know that I will not always be suffering. There are days where it's really bad, but there are days where it's really, really good.
I'll get
And
over it.
I'll get over it. And it's not to say that, because when you mask it, that's when you then don't even go to therapy, because you are trying to make yourself believe that I am fine, everything is well with
It's
me.
just a fake.
Yes, but if you allow yourself to feel it, you will know that no, this is not a good thing. Let me go and seek help. I will, you move through it. I'm okay. No, I'm not okay. Let me seek help because I am not okay.
The funny thing about addressing mental health is that although you are going through this mental health issue, it's still a battle whereby you have to fight it with making a choice. How do you make a choice when you're already going through the most? How do you make a valid choice when you're already going through the most? Tumsani, what are the recovery stages, or rather what is the process that one can undergo in order to get back to their normal self after they have identified a mental health issue, a personal mental health issue, or a mental health issue on someone else?
Well, I would first appreciate the fact that you have indicated that it's a process of which it takes time, and it takes time over a longer period. And it is one of the biggest interventions, therapy. Therapy doesn't happen like on a snap, done. It's like ongoing. So the first things that we really need to look into when we're talking about recovery, I prefer calling it rehabilitation, because it has a transformative element in it, that we are transforming from this person I was without a mental health disorder to the person I am having a disorder, to the point whereby the disorder is corrected. The first thing is I need to accept that I have a problem. And in accepting that I have a problem, I need to allow someone to assist me because I need help. So you accept, and then you seek help. And after seeking help, you then undergo the process, which might take as long as forever, but it is being undertaken. And while you are doing that, you need to have a proper support structure. People or the environment that's going to support and embrace this transformation you are going through. If you want to have it done and done well, you do it in the most accommodative space, comfortably for you, by allowing the people you want to resonate the energies they present to you with. If I'm going through being isolated, I cannot say then I'm going to recover and rehabilitate from isolation by being alone. I need to step out of the house and correct being alone by seeing people. Even if I'm not talking to the people, but I'm interacting with the environment, I'm interacting with the people outside, and that's going to make me at some point feel like the conversation by Lombuso and Nondome is very interesting, then I'll jump into the conversation. I've broken the cycle. Because we need to accept, seek help, go through the process, and then you maintain the positive energies that we have generated from the process. And with that being said, you maintain the support structure as well. So the basis of rehabilitation is you need to first accept that you have a problem. Actually, you first identify the problem. Sometimes the identification of the problem is not by you. Someone else will identify the problem on your behalf and come in and say, my guy, you are now having vampire tendencies. You need to step out of that one. And then you need to then accept that you are now becoming this. You seek help. You go through the process. You have a support. And then you maintain the transformative process. That's the point whereby you're going to say, hey, something is different about this one. You might probably even end up having a different personality after going through the rehabilitation, and hence it's called rehabilitation.
Well said indeed. Now, Lombuso, as a counseling psychologist, that gives me the insight that there are a couple of other psychologists out there. So can you tell us briefly the kinds of psychologists that are out there, and which one can someone with a mental health issue best consult?
There are different psychologists, and the difference in them is first in the education level and also what it is that they do. So we have intern psychologists, or we have general psychologists, and those are the ones that have a general degree in psychology. And then there are those that have specialized, which is counseling psychologists, which means I have a specialty in counseling psychology. Clinical psychologists have got a specialty in clinical psychology disorders, and so on and so forth. And we spoke earlier about the different disorders. Each disorder has a different way of approaching its the therapy. There's cognitive-based therapy, there's talk therapy, there's just so many therapies. There's as many therapists as there is the disorders. So each therapist or each psychologist has a certain specialty in different therapies. So it depends on the disorder that you are presenting with. Any psychologist that has a general degree in psychology can identify a mental health issue within a person. It is up to that psychologist to then look for someone who specializes in that disorder to refer them to that particular person. If you need medication, we have the psychiatric hospital in Manzini. If you just need counseling therapies, we have so many counseling therapists, we've got so many clinical psychologists, and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is that you find someone that is specialized in, first of all, identifying, so that they can be able to refer you to the appropriate people to help you with whatever disorder you are presenting with at that time.
So that individual that is good at identifying happens to be a psychologist. Well said indeed. Now, before we wrap up and close, can I have you beautiful ladies and gentlemen share your contact details? Share your contact details and support groups or organizations that people watching out there can reach out to in order to in a way conscientize themselves about mental health and to further know more about what exactly is mental health. Can we start on my right? Where can they find you?
At the far end. Well, I do have my personal social media handles, but mostly I do most of the work on Facebook. You just go check Tumsan Jobo Mamba, and then my account is very public because I share information on the account as well. But also I mentioned that I'm a founding director of an organization working on mental health, wellness and education, Eswatini Mental Wellness, and that's just the handle on Facebook as well. Eswatini Mental Wellness, and all of the other services that you need for mental health you'll be able to find from that particular platform. So that those could be the ones, and more information on social media. And
Lombuso?
Well, I am also very active on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I go by Lombuso Mtetwa. Nothing fancy there, and that's my personal accounts where I try to speak about mental health as much as I possibly can. But I'm also a founding director of an NPO called Moms Club Eswatini, and we also have social media platforms for that as well, which is Moms Club Eswatini on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we also have a YouTube channel as well for that one, where we speak just about mental health issues, but with a more focus on parenting and what could affect mothers, especially in early pregnancy and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Nontsikelelo, can they follow you?
On social media, on Instagram, I'm also on Twitter, but I'm mostly active on Facebook. I'm more comfortable with Facebook, simply because I can write my paragraphs. Nontsikelelo Enhle Mazibuko on Facebook. I do talk a lot about mental health on my Facebook. I've had quite a number of people that have approached me from the posts that I share on Facebook. I abuse this one a lot.
That's a mental health issue.
We should look into that one.
I abuse this one a lot because...
All right, but they can follow you on Facebook at Nontsikelelo Enhle Mazibuko. All right, Nondome, can they follow you?
Actually, I'm currently working with the Swaziland Network for Early Childhood Development based in Manzini. It's an NGO that works with children. We have recently created a WhatsApp group for supporting women, especially those who have young children, preschool teachers, parents, caregivers, all that work with children. So I'm also on Facebook, Kuki Makukula on Facebook. Yes. I don't know if I can share the WhatsApp number.
If you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, our WhatsApp number is 76762388 to join the group, a support group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it yourself. Everything, all the fundamentals of mental health and all the misconceptions around it. This has been a really, really amazing day. Open Discussions is the name of the program, brought to you by Alliance Francaise. It's been a good day. I am the silent writer. Spread the love and light. Spread the love and light.